And a good spiritual morning to you once again. Thanks for joining me today for a quick chat. And of course, our morning cup of coffee. And it's getting cold. Cold coffee. It's been a long morning. I wanted to talk, on these videos after, a few years of doing this now. Am I coming up on 6 years? 6 years. I've talked about tennis quite a bit, off and on, because I played tennis and I've always followed tennis. And I love it as a sport. It's a great sport. And I'm too old to play seriously anymore. But we just had the Australian Open. And I thought, since I've talked about tennis so much on the channel, I would be remiss if I didn't just mention the Australian Open a little bit. And don't worry, don't shut off the video because, he's talking about tennis, I'm not going to watch it. The videos are never really about that. There's always a sort of a message, some kind of a take home for us to consider as Orthodox Christians. And so we just had the final of the Australian Open. And I'm just going to comment on the men's final because that was kind of the historic one. No offense to the ladies that played on Saturday. It was a great match. It was great tennis. But historically speaking, the men's final on Sunday, a couple Sundays ago, right, was amazing historically because you had Novak Djokovic versus Carlos Alcaraz. And so historic because Djokovic, of course, has the most Grand Slam titles. And so there's 4 major titles because there's 4 of them. And when you hit a Grand Slam, you get 4 runs. So Grand Slams are referring to the Australian Open, French Open, Wimbledon, US Open. When you win one of those, it's a Grand Slam title. It's a big deal. It's a huge tournament. And it's amazing to win one of those. And so Djokovic now, who's Serbian, I think he's Serbian Orthodox, has won 24 of them. He's 38 years old, and he's on the verge of, he's teetering on retirement. He's right there. He was going for 25. It's a miracle he made it to the final. And then you have Carlos Alcaraz, who was going for his 7th win, and he's only 22 years old. And as a 22-year-old would have been and ended up winning, so the youngest player in history to win one of each of those events and have what they call the career Grand Slam. So it's amazing. And growing up watching tennis, I grew up watching tennis back in the 70s. I loved watching Bjorn Borg. My favorite was John McEnroe, despite the temper tantrums. And I was never a Connors fan. I don't know why. Never really liked Connors. I liked McEnroe. Lendl was always the bad guy for us, because he was always playing against McEnroe. But Lendl was amazing. That behind the back passing shot down the line, you got to watch that. So I grew up watching, and if you got 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 Grand Slams, it was like, oh my gosh, no one's ever going to pass the guys that led because they were before the Open era. So Rod Laver winning so many in Open era, and Emerson winning so many. So when Sampras came along, the good Greek boy from the U.S., and won 14, we thought, oh my gosh, 14 of these. No one's ever going to pass that up. And I'm just trying to put this into perspective before I give you the take home. So I'm sorry if you're not interested in tennis, but I'm a bit of a tennis fan. Maybe you can tell. But to put that into perspective, so Alcaraz wins. I think he's Spanish. Alcaraz wins at 22. Djokovic lost. It was a great match, 4-setter. And at 22 years old, he now has 7 of these titles, and he's won one of each of them. He is on the same level in terms of wins of Grand Slams with McEnroe and Wilander, right? They have 7. Those are legends in the sport. If he wins one more, which he's number 1 right now, so he should win one more in the calendar year. And he's Spanish, so he's good on clay. And he's got a great serve. He's got great feel and touch at the net. So he can volley, serve and volley. He can win a Wimbledon. He can win hard court. If he wins one more and gets 8, he's now tying Connors, Agassi, Lendl. And these are like legends in the sport. The kid's 22 years old, right? He's even if he retires now, he's technically a legend in the sport by what he's already done at 22. And so my point is thinking about the perspective of how things changed. And it got me thinking about, how we stand on the shoulders of the people that came before us. He's only able to do what he's doing now because of the people that came before him, because the sport has advanced, right? So it's this like generational wealth of knowledge that passes. And how amazing and true that is in orthodoxy, right? So he's only able to do what he's doing now at 22. I mean, some of it, of course, is his natural ability and the timing in the sport, but also he has the decades of what has come before him. He is who he is because he got to see Federer and Nadal and Djokovic play. And they are who they are because they got to see and play against Agassi and Sampras. So it's kind of like you're passing on this generational wealth. And with each generation, we should be getting better and better, right? We should be getting better and better. In tennis, what's advancing? The technology is advancing. The rackets are advancing. But also the nutrition and the conditioning and the training, all of that's advancing. I'm sure when I was watching tennis in the 70s, the guys were probably leaving the court and going and having a cigarette. I mean, what do they know about technology and training and all that stuff? Nowadays, they're so conditioned and they cross-train in what they eat and how they have their own trainers that travel with them and the whole thing that they do. Of course, look at Djokovic. He's 38 years old and he almost won another Grand Slam. That's crazy. But that's a testimony to what we've learned. So in orthodoxy, I wonder if that's happening. I almost feel like we have the reverse going on. I feel like the generations that came before us did much better than we did. And we're struggling to keep up with them. We're not racking up 20, 22, 24 Grand Slams compared to 6, 7, 8. It's the opposite. It's the inverse. We're not carrying along that generational wealth of knowledge, of our faith. And we should be, and we need to be. So that's, I think, the take home. Lent is right around the corner. It's a time for us to recommit ourselves and to think about the amazing gifts that we've been given by those that came before us when it comes to our faith and our relationship with Christ, our participation in our relationship within our church. Say, look at the people that came before, what they sacrificed so that I can be here right now and have the availability, the opportunity, everything that I have. And how am I measuring up? Because people always say, oh, Father, I wish you could have met my grandmother, my yaya, my papu, my grandfather, my father, my mother. They were so pious. They were this and that. They went to church all the time and they always fasted and they always read the Bible. And I say, so how's it going with you? Apparently not so much. You're not doing any of that stuff. What happened? You're supposed to take what they gave you and improve upon it. Make it better. Be an Alcaraz. Make the next generation better and say, wow, let me take it and let me take the ball and run with it. It's the wrong metaphor from the wrong sport, but still add to that deposit and that wealth that's been transferred generationally, a wealth of knowledge and our wealth of faith in Christ. And that's a challenge for all of us, to think about the people that came before us, think about our loved ones, think about their faith and say, how do I take that gift that they gave me and let me build on it? And let me make it be even better and move it forward. Don't say, they did that back then. We don't do that anymore. Sure we do. It's just that we're not right now. We just have to recommit ourselves to it so that we grow in Christ, and we do that each and every day. Amen.